Welcome to B2B in Flux. This is where we dig into how marketing, sales, and buyers connect in today's B2B world. What's working, what's broken, and what's evolving.
So welcome to the B2B Influx podcast for marketers who want to understand the people and the customers they're really selling to. In B2B software and tech marketing, we often talk about the buying committee or the decision-making unit. That's the CEO, the CFO, the CTO, the COO. We know the deal is rarely one person. It's usually 6 to 10 stakeholders all pulling information in parallel. It's a multi-threaded, change-driven process that often feels messy from the inside. But to the marketing team trying to reach them, those stakeholders don't always feel like real people. They stay as titles on a slide or a persona in a deck. This podcast is a set of short conversations with the buying committee, the real people behind those roles that you're targeting. I want you to hear how they actually work day to day, the pressures they deal with, what they pay attention to, and what they actually ignore, and which marketing content they genuinely consume when a decision is on the line. I hope this will give you a clear edge to refine your marketing and sales approach to how buyers really behave. Today, I'm joined by Felipe Stark. He's a CTO who's been involved in multiple tech and software negotiations throughout his career. So let's get into it. Felipe, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thank you.
Cool. So let's set the scene. What does your role look like today, and what kind of companies and problems have you spent most of your career dealing with?
So I wear different hats, and I think that my career was very diverse. I wasn't a CTO. Well, my background is electrical engineer, so I'm an engineer by heart and by studies. I have been in many different sectors in companies before. So not only as a CTO role, but also as leading the whole company, as CEO as well, doing sales. So I understand the full spectrum of everyone. And right now, in the past, I would say 8 years, then I'm much more focused on the CTO role. So driving technology on the organizations that I'm involved.
Okay, great. So you're going to have a broad knowledge to draw from. But for this particular conversation, I want to kind of drill into the CTO role, because a lot of our clients, they're targeting CTOs, they're selling software and tech, and the CTO at some point is going to come into this role. So it's good for us to understand specifically what that role does. So when people hear CTO, what do they usually assume about your job that just is not true in practice? Like, what actually takes up your time?
Yeah, I think that in my role specifically, I'm driving the technology on the company. So I'm responsible for at the end the product, so that the company has a technology product. And through that, I think that most people assume that a CTO is much more buying technology or in the decision making of those vendors. But at the end, we're much more focused on producing software, building something from the ground up.
Mhm. Okay, so in some instances, though, you would buy technology in, right? If you're building it I guess that's one of the conversations you have, right? Do I build or do I buy?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
100%. Yeah, I think that that's even one of the discussions that yeah we constantly get asked, and I've been on both sides, right? And there is one thing that techies tend to do. They always think that they can build themselves, and that's a common thing that happens. And I've seen even on a hardware project that you would come with a hardware project, and technology partner, the CTO would say, "Well, that's actually too easy to build." That happens a lot with software. That's not the case, though. You have to pay attention on which parts you can actually build yourself and which parts you cannot. And I think maybe that's one of the biggest challenges of my role, is to identify, okay, what are the partnerships that we should gather in order to advance our technology? What are the things that we should be building ourselves? And what are the things that we should, right on, just buy from a third party and integrate directly then? or use it.
So typically a problem or a growth opportunity would come to you from someone within the company. And then it's your job to decide if it's a technology problem, do we build this? Do we buy it? Like you're the first kind of sounding board. Is that fair to say?
I think it depends, John. It depends, for example, if it is a product that is going to be used really by my team or someone else's team. Let's assume, for example, it's a CRM. So that means it's being used by the sales team and it's not involving my team directly. I would have little, at least on the organizations that I've worked for, I would say that I have a little voice into that, just because the decision should come from the CMO or the CSO, and not directly from me. I can weigh in and say, hey guys, I think that this solution looks much better for our use case. But my voice would be a little bit dimmed. However, on software that's 100% used by my team, then that means, of course, then it's a decision together with the team. That would be, for example, where we're going to deploy our servers, whether it's going to be AWS, Azure, or DigitalOcean, for example, which is something that we use. Um, then it's 100% on my side. And I would say that there is even little involvement from the other C level.
Can you think about something recent, the software or technology decision you were involved in that you actually bought into the company? And so before anyone was looking at vendors or websites, like what had to happen for that internally, for that decision to even exist? Is it just a conversation comes to you about what people want? Like what does that specifically look like?
So we're talking about my team specifically, not someone
Correct.
else or from other department. Okay, for
Yeah.
my team and specifically, let's go for a very concrete example. We wanted to have a system, a ticketing system, right? And we can go a Scrum system, right? And we have many vendors out there that can drive that. Um, there is one name that everyone uses, which is Atlassian. And at the end, we ended up using that. But before that, we investigated a couple of other ones. For that specific task and system, the market is so crowded. But whenever you have like this kind of a champion that almost everyone uses, it's even a little bit harder to assume and to think, okay, what are going to be the other software possibilities that we could have, right? But coming back then, John, to what needs to happen and where it comes from, right? I think that it's an intrinsic need from the team itself. So the team decides, hey guys, we have this problem to solve. Let's figure out whether we're going to solve ourselves or if we're going to jump into a vendor, and then bring this software from outside.
If in that instance, if it's something where there are, let's say if it's a sales or marketing tool where there are lots of different ways in which it can present it and it can do things and you're involved in that process, like what is that research process for you look like? Are you having conversations internally? Are you going to the vendor websites and interacting with their marketing? Like when it's something that there are lots of nuances, what does that research look like for you?
Yeah, let me give you a better example. Even for example, a CRM is a very good example that I can really speak about the past experiences when I was involved into that decision. Um, I think that the user experience for a CRM is maybe the most important thing, because non-techie people, they need a really good user experience, and good visuals, I think, also make people happy, and happy people are more productive at the end. I think that even myself, when I made the switch from Windows to Mac, and that was way before anyone even considered a Mac. That was almost 20 years ago. There was an intrinsic value that I got from it because I was so happy using it. It was every little detail was on point. And I think that for a CRM is also that the full integration, it needs to be so seamless. So you have to for the common step that you use. That means, okay, email, it always looks the same, right? But now if you're using any kind of a spreadsheet, it also kind of looks the same. There is nothing so different between all those software. So at the end, integration on your CRM, connecting everything that you already use that is kind of the same, but the UX then for the software that is different, then it needs to be on point visually or easy to use or seamless. And there is also let bring then a new point that I have been seeing over and over now is if those systems they have a good API. And why is that? It's because AI changed a lot, and it is changing the industry. And I think that we all need to roll up our sleeves and start seeing that a lot of things are changing, guys. And one of the things that I'm constantly checking is if the system that I'm choosing has a good API. And why is that? Because context management is everything. And context management is for people who don't know, is basically okay giving data to the AI so that AI then can perform their tasks. So that's very important for agents as well. And if you use a system where the data is completely in silos, it's not going to cut in the age of agents that we live right now. So you do have to have a very good API if you use that. Another thing is whether and AI is also changing that because uh, the the level, not the level, but um, um, how can I explain? So for you, whenever you make a decision whether to build it or not, right now with AI, it's that's not as hard as it was before. So that means um, in order for you to build something, it's 10 times easier than it was, I would say, 4 years ago. Um, so for you to choose a vendor, you really need to think about, okay, what am I getting from this? Because if it is just a simple solution, I'll be much better off building itself for the workflows of my company. And I think that that's also another point is um, vendors they generalize their use cases, so they make solutions for a large quantity of people, but processes on companies they are unique, and that also is now becoming much easier in the age of AI to instead of then getting a vendor adapting it to the uniqueness of your company. Um, Sometimes then it's easier with the agents and with the coding agents to just build yourself and basically for your enterprise.
Mm. And so with that, there's a few things I want to unpack in what you just said then. So when
Sure.
you're talking about the API access and kind of what the API can do, are you expecting to be able to go to the website and go to a technical area and download that? Like, what does that look like, your initial research when you're looking at that? Like, what do
I do.
you expect?
I do
And what
100%.
what are examples you've seen of when people present that well, that is very useful for you? And can you think of any examples when you went to it? and maybe it was perfect, but it wasn't presented in a way that you could use. I don't know if you have those examples in your mind.
I do. I do have one example of a CRM that I just looked into it, and I found that their API docs were simple, but I was able to understand exactly whether
Who is it? Can you say who it is?
yeah, it's a folk app. So it's a CRM that I didn't know, and it was suggested by AI. I was doing a little bit of research, and then the AI suggested it for the use case that I was researching for. Um, and I went there, and the first thing that I thought was, okay, if I'm going to do any kind of integrations, does it have integrations with agentic systems? So, for example, if we would like to use N8N, which is this automation platform, does it have a direct connector to it? Because it doesn't have to have a full integration, but it does have to have a good API. So what I did was I went to the website, checked their API documentation, and then it was clear for me what they were doing or not, what were the capabilities, and and then I could make a decision whether that's whether we would move forward with them or with another vendor that I also had in mind.
And were you trusting that? That's kind of my next question about how AI has changed how you do your research and form your opinions about vendors. Were you going straight to your LLM of choice and asking these conversations, or were you going to the website and accessing the information direct?
Um, I think that asking the right questions to the LLMs can give you sometimes better results than just going to Google and searching yourself. And the reason for that is you can have a very good dialogue with the LLM for your specific use case.
Yeah.
And with Google, then you get the general approach, but
Yeah.
not I need a specific software that does this and this. And asking that to an LLM is definitely search on steroids.
Mm. So I think for marketers listening there, the value in which we all know of what we would call organic visibility, not just appearing on Google with traditional SEO, but marking up your content and all those different things. So within the LLMs, it can find your information easy. It's structured the right way because people like Philippe, technical people, are asking specific questions. And if it's structured the right way, they're able to find that. Something else you said earlier that you kind of said throw away, but I think is really important is I think when I think of a CTO's role, it's more about the technical implementation and how that's going to be done. But you kind of touched on something which is slightly different, which is more around adoption of it. That if we do this thing, how easy and how well will it be adopted within the organization? You were talking about, does it look nice and does it look pretty? Is that a typical consideration of a CTO? Are you kind of measured on that? Like if we do this thing, we then have to make sure people use it or do it?
Um, I think that maybe the metrics are not are people using it or not, but the metrics are uh, productivity itself.
Mhm.
I think that if people are not using it or if they need training and you're not reaching the productivity, I think that's what you have to be careful, right?
Mhm.
And what I said is 100%. When you are when you're trying to when you're trying to choose a vendor, um, the the training, how the learning of it, how steep it is or not, it's definitely taken into consideration. And why? It's because whenever you buy something, it's never that value that you see up front. It's you have to calculate all the intrinsic value of it, and training is definitely one of them.
Mhm.
So for its whole lifetime of usage, that's how you go around it.
Mhm.
You don't think, hey, I'm spending um, 1,000 euros on this, I'm actually spending much more because there is a training, there is how the whole integrations, there is the coordination of the whole team. So if you think of something, for example, if you think of software that people already know how to use, then maybe it's even better to pay a little bit more for the software itself, because for its lifetime use, then it's much cheaper.
And other things that marketers and salespeople can do to help you, is that something that no amount of selling on a marketing or a service could help communicate that? Is that something you would know internally, or is there more that people can do to help you factor those things in?
I think that that's definitely something that can be better communicated. And the way you communicate, even with simple guides on through video, that already is a very good communication. Because if you can pass on a video showing how to set up or how to build something within 1 minute, 2 minutes, then that gives confidence that actually that the whole training side of it might be lower than expected whenever we choose a vendor.
Interesting. So you spoke about how you're using AI differently. So if you're researching a vendor and the only way to see pricing or demo or any of the information you want is by filling out a form, what goes through your mind? Like, what makes you decide whether to engage or leave?
Well, it really depends, John. I think that's not a simple question, because if you have 10 other vendors who display their price, then of course, then I'm not going to fill out a form. I'll most probably then go for the other vendors. But if you're looking for very specific software, and there are only 3 vendors in the world, and you have to fill out a form on all of them, you will fill out the form.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So for you, it's just about scarcity of resource.
Yes. I think
Okay.
it's not for me, it's how the world works a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So in your career, because you said that you've worn many hats, you'll have been in many meetings with other kind of C-level executives. Like, when people are when you've been people pitching to the entire room, what are some of the mistakes that you see vendors make when they try to pitch to the whole team at once?
Mm.
And I guess, like, is there a need to understand, like we're trying to have in this conversation, what each person specifically cares about, so you can speak to that individually?
I think so. I think so. I think that's a good strategy, because whenever you have um whenever you're trying to pitch to uh, and it's not to tailor fit the message to the person who is listening, it's a very it's a little bit harder to touch base on all their pain points, because my pain points are definitely different from other of my colleagues. I have a little bit more empathy because I have worn more hats, but uh, but I think that if I only had the position of a CTO, I think that I would be much more conscientious about my pain points than maybe.
In some of these other conversations I've had with CTOs, they were talking about the speed in which a sale can happen if on those initial sales calls the salesperson brings a technical person, because otherwise the CTO is asking questions or things. If the salesperson is non-technical, it's just going to require another conversation. So is that a good thing to consider, that if you have someone technical, bring that technical person early on, because otherwise it's going to require a second call?
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
It's funny because that's what we do as well. We have to sell. Those are actually two things, and this is also important. Um, Whenever we're selling to companies, we have exactly this problem. Sometimes we just bring a technical person, in order for us to sell the product. But there is another silver lining, and a very good one to bring a technical person on those calls, is that they see what are the problems that the customers are facing. And so I think that it's very valuable, for technical people to also join sales call, for them to understand what they're building and what their customers are expecting.
Mhm.
So I think that it's a win-win situation.
Mhm. Yep, that would make sense. Okay, so from one of those specific software or tech purchases that you've been part of, that you said that you already had a known vendor in mind, like what would you say actually would have influenced you from their marketing or the things you see? Like what do you think you genuinely paid attention to or consumed when evaluating someone new? Is it LinkedIn thought leadership? Are you personal recommendations? Like what, looking back, do you think that you have actually paid attention to?
I think it's less about the marketing itself and more about opportunities in terms of we're going through some technological changes, especially with AI. And whenever there are technological changes, um, there is opportunity. And I think that I wouldn't change my mind so easily on the software that we have been using for many years and being successful at it, right? Why would we change vendors if we have a good relationship, we're getting good results. And I think that one of the reasons why we would change is definitely if there is a technological advance. And those vendors that are using this change to really drive innovation and bring more value, I think that they have a perfect opportunity here. So instead of focusing on things that, um, yeah, it's the basically focusing on things that you can actually do better and make everyone more productive.
Mhm. And reinforce that message. But when if okay, so if there's
I
a
would
new
say
vendor
that
to
reinforcing that message, but at the same time, show. I think that we're moving away from a message only and much more. Yeah, show me what you can actually do.
how would
And
you want to be shown specifically? Like I get what you're saying. Like tell me where you would look to be shown.
I think that video formats are a good way forward.
Mhm.
If you can show what you can build in or you can do what you can do for an organization in a video format, I think that that's a great start as well.
Interesting. Okay, final question. So if B2B marketers understand just one thing better about just how decisions get actually made inside the leadership teams you've been part of, what would you say that would be?
I think I think my message is use the opportunity that technological changes bring, because that's where you have an edge, and that's a huge way into any organization.
Wonderful final words. Philippe, thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending time with us on B2B Influx. To learn more, head to somebodydigital.com.